So I've been playing some Starfield on my Nvidia 3060 Ti and the old reliable AMD Ryzen 5 3600X, and I thought I'd just share my experience with other people who might be interested in checking the game out on Game Pass, or buying it, even with its hefty price tag and questionable optimization. Those launch day benchmarks look pretty dire, but I'd just like to share my experience with you. I'm also going to be testing out the optimized settings that Alex Battaglia of Digital Foundry put together in their great tech review video. A bit later in the video, I test out Resizable BAR to see its performance impact. First up on the left side is the old 537.17 driver, then in the middle you can see the new 537.34 driver. These first two are running the high/medium settings that I've been using to play the game. And on the right side you can see the Digital Foundry optimized settings, which is also running on the newer driver. So in my tests you can see that the new 537.34 driver didn't have a huge impact on my system. It's getting me approximately 1 to 3 FPS more at most, which is still an improvement most of the time, but you can see it's actually managing to get a worse result in this first test. And most of these are within margin of error anyways. It doesn't seem like this was the performance uplift Nvidia card owners were hoping for. The DF optimized settings on the other hand provide a nice performance boost to my high/medium settings in situations where I'm GPU limited. However, it seems like the performance difference during CPU limited scenarios is much less pronounced. This isn't really the performance you'd like to see at these settings and at 1080p on a system of this caliber, but as Todd said,
it is a next-gen PC game. We really do push the technology, so you may need to upgrade your PC for this game.
No, but seriously, these Nvidia drivers and the game's overall performance seems a bit lacking. In general, the game is absolutely playable on this older mid-range PC, but there are some significant drawbacks. Expectations about resolution scale, graphics quality, and frame time consistency have to be tempered because the game is very taxing at the moment. But I do have the DLSS Bridge Extender mod by LukeFC installed here. For me, the performance gain wasn't massive though, as this is not the frame gen implementation, but the image quality improvement was substantial. So if you're an Nvidia owner, either get the mod or wait for the official support and enable it then. The clock is ticking for that feature and better Starfield optimization in general from both Bethesda and Nvidia. Another unfortunate quirk of this current year video game is the lack of full screen options. This means if you have a 4K TV like me, you're going to be forced to play at that resolution, then use resolution scaling of something like 50% to just get a decent frame rate. I was able to get this working on my high/medium settings with a pretty stable 40 FPS, which doesn't have the worst latency, and with DLSS this didn't look too bad. This is similar to the way upscaling from about 1296p to 4K is how the game is running on the Xbox Series X. I wanted to test out the impact of running 100% resolution scale at 1080p. This setting causes a pretty significant performance loss in GPU bound scenarios, so I'm going to be sticking with a lower resolution scale. This is a decent way to claw back some of those frames, which is likely why Bethesda is leaning so heavily on it with this release. BAR. First starting with the Digital Foundry optimized settings, I found that this had a negligible impact on the tests I ran. Not sure if there's something wrong with how I've set it up here in the Nvidia Profile Inspector. My settings are on the screen right now. But yeah, I saw almost no impact in terms of performance in these tests. Let me know in the comments if Resizable BAR is making much of a difference for you on your rig, or if you have suggestions for what the issue could be here. As for what I think of the game so far, it's been pretty great. I'm a Bethesda fan, and this is definitely a Bethesda game, so I can't really be too disappointed. But I guess that statement speaks to how groundbreaking some of Bethesda Game Studios' former games like Morrowind, Skyrim, and Fallout New Vegas were. People were really hoping this game could push the space game and RPG genres forward, but it really just delivers a classic Bethesda RPG, which I'm really enjoying a lot. The space combat in the game has definitely grown on me, especially since I switched to playing on gamepad. I found it a lot more fun. The necessity of fast travel is definitely my least favorite aspect. It makes it feel like you're in a Fable game going from zone to zone instead of in a connected galaxy. I also don't really like how the experience of wandering in a handcrafted open world that former Bethesda games possessed has been somewhat cheapened by the procedural generation and the extremely segmented game design this game has. I miss just wandering around Skyrim or the Commonwealth trying to explore everything on the map on foot. I've been binging a lot of Fallout 4 this summer, so I wish you could use VATS somehow. I bet there's already a mod in the works for that though. Yes! The best comment that I've seen online about the game is when somebody said they wish the game was more focused on a few systems, with higher detail being rendered in those smaller zones. I completely agree, as the most fun I've had in the game is flying around smaller, densely packed systems with a lot of moons. Those systems felt like I was in space instead of being surrounded by a bunch of low-res cardboard cutouts of planets in an empty void. It's certainly a good game, but I'm not sure it's going to grip me in the way those former titles have. Weirdly, in my space combat testing, the 100% scale eked out a win, but it's likely because this test had different levels of exposure to intensive effects. I think I was just very quick about disposing of the pirates that time, which is probably why this result came out on top of the heap. So that was my experience with Starfield on my slightly older mid-range PC. Let me know how the games are running on your rig in the comments, and if you enjoyed, please leave a like, it really helps a lot. Bethesda does end up putting out a good patch with significant performance improvements for the game. I'll make an update to this video, so get subscribed. Thank you for watching.